All right, thanks, Dee. Yes, and I really am mainly here in my capacity as president of Social Security Works PAC. I think a lot of you know that by now. We'll get into it a little more clearly. But many of you do know me as Bowzer, formerly of the rock group and TV series Sha Na Na. And if you know me as Bowzer, you know you'll understand why I'm going to say that in November of 2024, we have got to make sure that we elect people who are going to be good on the issues of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and drug prices. And if we do so, we're going to spend that election night doing this. Because can you believe that I have been making a living now for over 54 years? Actually, I'm not really making a living at it anymore. I'm kind of retired like you guys, but I'm here in Connecticut to do one of my final shows. But can you believe I've been making a living for all that time doing this? God bless America. But here in my dotage, I'm 76 years old. I really am devoting way more of my time to making sure that we are going to leave behind to our kids and our grandkids a country that still functions, a country we can be proud of, a country where people can retire with dignity and independence. And honestly, at this point in 2024, a country that doesn't resemble Russia or even worse. We were just discussing before we came on our habit of saying that this is the most important election of our lives. We've probably done it too often, but we didn't realize that this one was coming up. Because by every measure of my 76 years, and I think we all agree on this at this point, this is the most important election of our lives. This is an election where everything is on the line. Democracy itself is on the line in a way that it never has been before. And that includes, the Nixon era, where ultimately Nixon was, in the final analysis, an institutionalist who, in the sense that he wasn't trying to destroy the institutions of our great country, like the probable presidential candidate we all know who we're talking about appears to be doing today. And don't deceive yourself into thinking that that guy is going to be good on any of the issues that we care about either. He pulled that same stunt in 2016, and it turned out that they tried as hard as they could to cut Social Security, to cut Medicare, just couldn't get it done, couldn't really get anything done except for the real platform, which is that tax cut for the top 1%, the only thing that's really on the agenda. It's already been said, and it's true that people have come out, candidates have come out and said the weirdest things about Social Security and Medicare that we've ever heard. I mean, even more extreme than before. Rick Scott came out with this cockeyed plan, last year to why don't we just sunset those programs after 5 years? I mean, we could talk about this for the entire hour, how really, truly extreme the proposals to decimate the programs that we all need and that we all care about and that the country needs. Because always remember that before Medicare was passed in 1935, over 50%, before Medicare was passed, over 35% of American seniors had incomes below the poverty line. 1965, I may have misspoke. Somebody was talking in the background. But let me say that more clearly again. Before Medicare was passed in 1965, over 35% of American seniors had incomes below the poverty line. And also internalize that before Social Security was passed in 1935, more than 50% of American seniors, more than 1 out of every 2 of us, had incomes below the poverty line. Social Security and Medicare are the 2 most successful domestic programs in the entire history of the United States of America. We need to keep them that way. And in fact, we need to protect and expand them. And before getting into more detail about this election, let me also just say that the current administration has really been great on the programs that we care about, particularly drug prices. The drug price achievement in the first 2 years was really remarkable, especially given that it was not a great Congress. And we need to deliver a better Congress, which is the subject that I'm really going to talk about. But given that it was not a great Congress, especially not a great Senate in those first 2 years, lumbered by people like Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, who were only going to let as little as they possibly could go by because they were being funded in large part by Big Pharma. It is remarkable that Medicare, for the first time ever, is going to be able to negotiating for lower prices on, yes, a limited amount of prescription drugs, because that's all it could get through, given the two people that I'm talking about, and the filibuster, which they wouldn't destroy. But it's a great big foot in the door that's never happened before in American history. Medicare is negotiating. I'm proud to say also that this is 2024, so now I can say next year, you will not pay more than $2,000 a year, no matter what your needs are, for your prescription drugs. You are capped at $2,000 a year. That is a tremendous achievement of this administration. And like I say, with not that great a Congress. So let's get to the point that really needs to be made, which is that we need to not only send these people back to the White House, but we need to deliver a better Congress. And California, which sometimes we all know as Californians, sometimes we're not really in play in presidential elections. Obviously, we should be. It's a lot of votes, but our electoral college votes, we probably know which way they're going to go. But we are so in play in this election, especially in the House of Representatives. You are now listening to somebody, not to toot my own horn as a strategist, but I am one of the very few people who said out loud all the time during the 2022 cycle, like, there is not going to be some kind of a red wave. What are you even talking about? I understand history, but I went on the ground to 35 different elections nationwide, all the toughest swing ones. And I always do that. I went to 57 in 2018, which was the most I'll ever do because I'm getting older. But I can tell you, I knew the entire time that somebody was going to end up with a tiny majority in the House. And it was either going to be Democrats or Republicans. It was either going to be people who were going to be good on senior issues or people who are going to be horrible on senior issues. And, we didn't do as well as we needed to do in California. We need to do better. And the other place, obviously, was New York. But with a tiny shift, with a minuscule shift, and by the way, this majority is down to 2 seats right now. And it's going to shift. It's going to change a little bit during the year because of weird retirements and people disappearing and probably even, people dying off who are in Congress. We don't know how that's going to turn out, but it is a very, very slim majority that cannot get very much done, which is good. We don't want this majority to be doing anything because anything they do is going to be bad for us. So I cannot emphasize enough. There are no words to emphasize enough how important every one of these swing California seats in the House really are. They're going to make the difference. Right now, as we speak, the majority is 2. There are at least 7 seats in California, 7 or 8 really, at least at this moment, that are in play in a way that they could go either way. It's going to depend on our effort, and it's going to depend on how seriously we take not only the overall election, but our role in it in California. Yes, we have to maintain the Senate seat. that, Dianne Feinstein has vacated. That is true, and that is important, but it's also highly likely that we're going to have a good ally in that Senate seat. It's a bruising primary that it makes me heartsick to even think about, because it means we're going to lose a tremendous, at least two terrific members of Congress who have been great on our issues. But I'm not going to go into the details of what seats we need to get, even though I know what they are. But Dwayne is going to do that when I throw it over to him, and go over why these were chosen by Kara to be the seats that are focused on. And there are good reasons for all of that. So I'm all in with you guys as president of Social Security Works PAC. And we do get to endorse, which is a good thing, at Social Security Works PAC, but we won't discuss that on this particular Zoom. But we're going to be all in with you, fighting, I guarantee you, for the same seats, because it's pretty obvious to everybody, where the problems are and which seats we can win in California, which seats we must win in California, and why California is going to be, along with New York, are going to be the makers of the majority in 2025 that is going to enable us to move forward on protecting and expanding Social Security, forward and on protecting and expanding Medicare, forward on lowering drug prices, forward on spreading Medicaid to the very few states, by the way, now. Some of these red states have been sneaking it in, just trying to sneak it in there. Let's get the Medicaid money and get our people covered, even though they claim that they're against it. The other side of this problem has been bleeding seats. And one of the final points that I want to make to you, because it's really germane and it's stuff that we at Social Security Works work on and struggle with all the time, is like, what's currently on the agenda? Because the majority has gotten slimmer in the House of Representatives, their real plan, which was to shut down the government, we already got through the default fight. But the plan right now, January 19th, they're still trying to shut down the government. And as part of their government shutdown deal, they're still fighting for a commission called the Debt Commission, the entire purpose of which is to cut Social Security and Medicare. They're lying to everybody, saying that Social Security is the biggest driver of the debt, which is a complete lie. Even Ronald Reagan said out loud that Social Security does not add 1 penny to the deficit because it's not even on the federal budget. So it's just a lie, but lies told over and over and over again somehow get into people's brains and they think they're true. Very recently, Mike Johnson, who was certainly not an ally on our issues by any means, made a deal with Chuck Schumer without this debt commission in it. We've been watching like hawks for this debt commission, because if it gets through, we're going to have to fight it collectively the entire time. But so far, so good. And the reason it's not getting through so far, this could still come about, so keep an eye on it. But the reason it's not getting through so far is because they don't have enough of a majority to push it through. And that's our role. Our role is to eliminate that majority altogether. They're after these programs. We have nothing to do but to defeat them. This is all about the most important election of our lives, November 2024. We all need to be all in, and we all need to make sure that we put into office people who will bum 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 dang a dang dang ding a dong ding, protect Social Security and Medicare. Phew.